I've always wanted to do that on the live stream. Welcome, everybody, to the Salty Nerd Podcast Late Night Edition. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the famed Netflix original series Cobra Kai Season 4. It's going to be full spoilers. We're going to break down every single episode, 1 through 10. So if you haven't watched the show, go check it out, and then you can come back. This won't be live, but you can watch the replay, and you can get all the nitty-gritty details on this season. Thank you guys all for joining us. I see we already got 7 some odd people watching. That's fantastic. Feel free to jump in the chat. If you guys have comments about this season, drop them in the chat. Let us know. I'll be watching it, and we can put your chat on the screen. And don't forget to support the podcast. Super chats are very appreciated. But if you don't want to do that, and you want to do something even cooler, go to saltynerdclub.com and join the club membership. That is where the action happens, guys. saltynerdclub.com. You're going to get access to 4 exclusive podcasts every single month that have to do with legacy sci-fi. This month of January, we're doing Doctor Who. Next month, we're doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We're going to be doing Stargate Atlantis. We have David Hewlett, Dr. McKay on the horn. He's going to jump in with us and talk about Stargate Atlantis. So if you like those kind of things, if you're thirsty for more legacy sci-fi stuff, head over to the club membership and jump in and help support the podcast. All right, that is my spiel. Tonight, we have a fantastic panel of nerds and a very special guest joining us. Let me get everybody in here. Here we go. First of all, Justin Proper is back. Welcome, sir. It's been a minute since you've been on a live stream. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be back. I think the last time we spoke was in the summer, and we did a podcast there. It was kind of a surprise. But I was happy to see you guys again. I was happy to be in Vegas, and I'm happy to be on here talking about one of my favorite shows.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. And as always, my producer and partner in crime, Matthew Kadish. Welcome, sir.
Cobra Kai never dies.
Indeed. I found the shirt.
Cobra Kai. I was literally watching our review of season 1 and 3 to refresh my memory before I came on. And before every season, we did the Cobra Kai,
Cobra Kai.
And the man of honor tonight, a podcaster from the Confused Breakfast podcast, AJ is joining us. Welcome, sir. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey there, fellas. I'll just apologize for my Midwest, Iowa, high-speed, great connection. I'll focus on audio, if anything. I'll jump in with video when I can. Thank you guys for having me. I have a special soundbite that we use on our show that I had to bring to you guys, as long as you guys are hearing me. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me on, and I just wanted to let you know. That's it.
Excellent.
Oh, man. You cut that way too soon.
Well, if we go longer than that, it's going to get copyright struck.
But worth it, Alex. Worth it.
The sentiment is appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much. All right. No more fluff. Let's get right into this. Cobra Kai Season 4. My goodness, guys, this was a blast of a season. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. All right, first off, the first episode is... I don't know what it's called. I didn't write down the titles. It's all right. So
Let's begin.
Thank you, Justin. Can you do that for all of them? I'm going to make you do that for all of them. Get ready for episode 2. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny and Daniel struggle to mix Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang training styles and end up at square one with their ever-present rivalry and want to end the collaboration. But the students have a different idea. Crees reaches out to his old ally, Terry Silver, and is shocked to see he has settled into a soft life of mimosas and tofu. Robbie sees a path to success using Cobra Kai, and Hawk builds a bridge between Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do. All right, guys. This first episode, I've really been enjoying Cobra Kai, if you guys want to watch our other season reviews, and I am continually shocked at how well this show makes those unwatchable elements of the movies good. And Terry Silver is one of those elements. You go back and watch Karate Kid 3, that guy is on a whole nother level. And for them to bring him back in this show, it's absolutely incredible. They did such a great job. This first episode was hilarious. You get to see him. He's in his luxury freaking beachside villa or whatever, having a cocktail party and all that stuff. And Crees shows up. It's so funny, the dynamic there. Crees is like, what is this nonsense going on? This guy's gone soft on me. And of course, Danny and Johnny are at each other's throats all the time throughout this entire first episode. And they just can't, they're like oil and water. They just don't mix. But Justin, what did you think about this first episode, bud?
I loved it, and you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the almost unwatchable elements. Well, not entirely unwatchable, but the unappealing aspects and the negative aspects of the original Karate Kid trilogy is really are taken, but like the good parts are taken and sort of exploited into something that it makes it special, makes it make sense. Terry Silver was done very well, and you have to remember Terry Silver was on a lot of cocaine back then, so
that was my favorite part.
So it makes sense that now that sort of explains, like, oh, that's why he was over the top. Like, he's
they literally showed every moment of Thomas Ian Griffith's overacting. As he was saying, I was so high on cocaine, I was terrorizing teenagers, I didn't know what I was doing half the time. I love how they bothered to explain his antics in Karate Kid 3.
In Karate Kid 3, he was basically playing the Joker, but Russo was not Batman. So,
he's like, I was terrorizing a high school kid.
For like months. Are you kidding me? That was crazy.
And like this stuff isn't making him money, like, or anything. He's just doing this for fun and because Crees, was, his war buddy. So that kind of motivation. We'll talk. I guess we'll talk about it later. But it makes so much sense how they wrap it up. But with the start of this, it was a good start to seeing how Terry Silver has evolved and being like, okay, that was a part of my life that I wish to forget. Kind of like in season 2 when Daniel is saying like, I was Cobra Kai once, but that's a part of my life I'd like to forget. So it's kind of.
AJ, what did you think about this opening episode, the season premiere?
I really enjoyed it. The other thing I will say is, like, John Crees coming back or seeing him in this first episode, he does not scare me anymore. Like he used to in the movies. And now Terry Silver absolutely does, but he looks like this guy who's like getting ready for a reunion tour with like Tears for Fears. And I'm just like, I want to be scared of you. I want to be scared of you, but I'm not quite there. But dude, he was sadistic back in the day. I don't know. I love that he also came up to a very concern, like, are you in? And he's like, no. And I know they just left. So it's great.
It was really cool to see how Terry seemingly in this first episode has moved on, and he denies Crees. He's like, I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore, man. That's in my past. So I did appreciate the character development with Terry Silver is phenomenal in this first episode, and I love how they explain how he gets sucked back in throughout the season, and then he goes full Terry Silver by the end of the season. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. Does anybody have any other comments about episode 1? Johnny and Danny, they're in their.
You didn't come to me.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Oh, Kadish, what did you think? What did you think about this opening episode?
So, what was really amazing about this season in general is that Thomas Ian Griffin, who plays Terry Silver, he had retired from acting. And he was like, I'm not going to be in anything anymore. And he was actually very embarrassed about Karate Kid 3. And so he was just adamant. They tried to get him back for like the next Karate Kid and stuff like that. He's like, no, I'm not doing that crap anymore. And so like the fact that this show was able to go to him and convince him to come out of retirement and join a TV series when he's basically gave up on acting, that was very impressive. Pretty much the entire Karate Kid fan base was not convinced that Terry Silver would ever come back because Thomas Ian Griffith retired. And if he did come back, it'd be a different actor. The fact that they were able to get the original actor to come back was just amazing. And the fact that he grew out his hair again to come back at his age is amazing. But I really liked the kind of reluctance that we saw from Terry Silver in this episode, because like he you talk about the reluctant hero where like, the old gunslinger, he's retired, he doesn't want to come back. But it's kind of like the opposite of that, where it's like the reluctant villain, I guess, where like he's cleaned up his life. He's got a good thing going, and yet he's being pulled back into like his old destructive ways. And I really loved the arc that we saw Terry Silver take this season. And I also want to kind of point out that did you pick up on him being sick at all?
Not in this first
No.
episode. No, I didn't pick up
No.
anything on like that.
No, why? Was he sick on set or something?
No, so basically the character of Terry Silver is that there are these hints throughout the first couple episodes that he has some type of medical condition. And I think part of him coming back to Cobra Kai is that he's dying and he wants to leave a legacy behind.
Oh.
And Cobra Kai, his ability to pass on his teachings to a whole new generation, that's one of the reasons why he decides to come back and take over, essentially. So, like, because like, there's a scene in his bathroom where he takes some pills. There's a scene where his personal chef is like, "Should I call a doctor?"
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah. So, like, I was getting those hints. They never flat out came out and said it, but I was getting that impression.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
I mean, I interpreted it as him just getting older and being rich and having someone who he pays a lot of money to take care of him. So I don't. Maybe you have a point there, but I'm not sure yet.
I also love like at the end of last season, we have this great montage where Daniel and Johnny come out at Miyagi-Do, and you got Phil Collins playing, and basically we're getting some echo there. Okay, so basically we come out and we got this great musical montage with the kids, and Daniel and Johnny look at each other and they say, like, "Let's begin." And then they recreate that scene in the opening of this season, but without the montage. It's just like how a normal person would perceive it. They do the really dramatic "Let's begin," and everyone's like, okay. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah,
I like that little touch.
This show's really clever with that kind of stuff.
Well, I think one thing I want to add is we focused a lot on Terry Silver, not so much any of the new casts, which have a lot of interesting things happening. Like I remember Hawk is he's now joining Miyagi-Do after he stole Miyagi's Medal of Honor, and so that obviously creates a lot of tension. Like, what is this guy doing here? He causes all these problems in season 2. They don't actually say that, but
and I think it's in the next episode or maybe episode 3, but Danny actually does say that because Hawk is like, "I don't really fit in here," and he's like, "Well, what'd you expect?" And he like blows up in his face.
Yeah, and I think what they decided to do is they make a sparring deck and they all work together, and I think it's in this episode. Am I right?
Yep. That's the bridge I'm talking about. So Hawk, when he realizes that he needs to mend the bridge between him and his friends and Miyagi-Do and what he's done in the last season, he goes and he knocks down a fence in the backyard, and they find an open area where they can build a sparring deck that kind of bridges the gap between Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do. So that's kind of where the episode leaves off, and it's a nice high note. And
and Hawk has kind of the most prominent character arc this season. It's really kind of Hawk's redemption arc in season 4 for all the bad crap he did in seasons 2 and 3, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to the second episode. Episode 2, Justin, what's it called?
It's called First Learn Stand.
Ah, okay. I can hear that in Miyagi's voice already. All right. New kid Kenny starts getting bullied at school by none other than Anthony LaRusso. Amanda LaRusso confronts Tori about her crimes, getting her fired from her job, allowing Crees to issue his own brand of wisdom and confront Amanda about screwing with his students. Danny and Johnny teach each other their respective styles of fighting, but they have yet to earn each other's respect. Anthony LaRusso gets pressured into bullying Kenny even more, pushing Kenny to seek help. All right, so this is the first introduction to a new character to the show. Little Kenny, I think his last name is Thomas, if I remember correctly. But he's a young black kid who's new to the school, and it opens up with him getting ready for school. He goes out to the bus stop, and he's like grooving and dancing. He's got the headphones in. He's having a damn good day. And these kids that pull up in the school bus completely ruin his vibe and make fun of him for dancing. And it's Anthony LaRusso and his like little gang of goons, which is funny because somebody has to correct me if I'm wrong, but did they recast Anthony LaRusso? Or
No, they didn't.
That's the same kid?
That's the same kid. Okay, we noticed this in season 3 because the kid, well, we have to remember like 4 or 5 years have passed since this is supposed to take place in a year. Let's just say he lost a bunch of weight and got a big growth spurt. Like that's
well, it was funny because he runs into Johnny Lawrence later on in the season, and Johnny hadn't seen him since season 1, and so he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm what's his name, LaRusso, and Anthony LaRusso," and he's like, "What happened to you?" And he's like, "It's called a growth spurt, dude. Chill out." Yeah.
What? You're the same kid?
Yeah, you're the same kid.
What? Basically said what everybody else was thinking. Like, did they recast?
Yeah, we saw that in season 3, just like with one scene, but they were like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, he wasn't in season 2 at all.
He
He comes back for like a scene in like season 3,
and
by then like he'd already like kind of like lost a lot of weight and kind of grew up.
Which it's funny how like neglected his character is in this show, and then that's a huge plot line in this season where they're like, dude, you're neglecting your son. And they're like, there's a whole thing with Danny LaRusso and his kid. Justin, what do you think about this episode, the introduction to Kenny and Anthony LaRusso being a bully?
Well, I absolutely love this. This is something that I believe I predicted in actually it was a few years ago actually with a Cobra Kai season 2 sort of prediction where I thought like, oh, Anthony, I thought Anthony would be bullied and join Cobra Kai as a big FU to his dad or something, but I'm glad they went with this instead because that idea sucks now thinking about it. But it makes perfect sense because, like he really is, just a couch potato who of course would be one of those trolls online who would say F you in Call of Duty and cuss you out and stuff like that. He is that kind of character. And I love the character of Kenny, mostly because I've been in that position before where a bunch of dudes are just being dicks all the time. And so it was very relatable. And I really feel sorry for him. And I love Kenny's arc. He's one of the best new characters that we've gotten introduced to this season. And I really enjoyed that whole plot line. I thought it was fantastically done. I just wish that there was a little, I guess a little bit more hesitancy on Anthony's side because he does really come across as a complete douchebag, but I love it.
Totally. AJ, your internet seems to be caught up, so why don't you go ahead, bud? What did you think about the second episode?
Caught up. That's good. Okay. 2 things at least. And let me know if I do break up, but I do really like how they basically use any character they want to speak what the audience is thinking, like what we're talking about. Johnny to Anthony, like, you're the same kid. Are you kidding me? Like, okay, cool. It is the same kid. Growth spurt. And then I feel bad for Kenny. I feel bad for Anthony, man. In this, Anthony is obviously pressured. And this is probably the point. Well, why aren't these guys just best friends? They should be best friends, right? Yeah. I mean, Anthony is he is a nerd. He is that kid. Like, we've seen that in the previous seasons, right? Yep. He is a nerd, and he loves video games, and he loves all the stuff. It's a little bit of a hint in that. How do you know so much about this game? Well, I just heard other nerdy kids talking about it. No, he knows. He knows. Yeah. And then, man, the buzzkill on Kenny at the bus stop, man. I hated that. I was like, no, dude, this seems like the coolest kid I've ever met.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm upset about both of those things. And again, I know it's probably the point of it, but you're just like, dude, you guys should be best friends.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, they would be such great friends, but I guess Anthony just hangs out with a bunch of shitty people.
Yep,
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, there are certain parallels there between Johnny and Daniel, where Anthony is basically Johnny Lawrence. He's the spoiled rich kid who him and his buddies are kind of bullying the new kid. And there was even a scene where they kind of catfished the new kid to show up at a park, and they chased him, and he had to jump over a fence. And that's a scene right out of the first Karate Kid movie, where Johnny and the Cobra Kais were chasing down Daniel. And the interesting thing is they actually tied what's the new kid's name?
Kenny.
Kenny. They actually tied Kenny into the previous seasons by having his older brother be the kid in juvie that I'm blanking on the name.
That picked on Robbie and was
that Robbie had the big knockdown drag out fight with.
Right.
And so like they're just so good at like weaving everything together. And when I first saw Kenny, I actually thought that he was going to be somehow connected to Jada Pinkett Smith or
Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith from the Karate Kid reboot. Like I literally thought that I was like, oh, they're going there.
No,
because he talked about his mom.
Please
like,
no.
He didn't see the mom, and then they talked about his older brother, and I was like, oh, they must have come back to America, and that must have been Jaden Smith.
No,
I'm glad they didn't go that way.
Not.
But like I was like, I think that I even turned to Jude when we were watching. I was like, I think that's what they're gonna do, and she's just like, no.
Real quick, I'm going to address the chat. Backyard Tires, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Haven't gotten a chance to watch yet, so I'm going to bounce. But looking forward to Doctor Who later. So he's talking about, guys, if you want to jump into our saltynerddiscord.com, Vader and I on Monday nights after this live stream, we do a live stream watch party with our fellow Discord members. So head over there to Discord and jump in and join us tonight if you feel so inclined. All right, so the other thing that happens that's pretty fun in this episode is Daniel and Johnny teaching each other. They decided, look, we have to come at terms. We have to come to a compromise. I'm going to teach you Miyagi-Do. This is Daniel. And then Johnny says, all right, well, if you're going to teach me Miyagi-Do, I'm going to teach you Eagle Fang. And they have this fantastic 80s montage of the two of them doing each other's respective styles. And Johnny is just not having the Miyagi-Do wax on, wax off treatment. He's like, this is bullshit. I could just use a sprayer and get this done in 5 minutes. It's hilarious. And then Johnny takes Danny to like some freaking burnt out warehouse and starts having him shovel coal onto the floor and walk on hot coals and climb freaking chains and shit. It's hilarious. It's so good.
It's so great how both of them get to torture each other in different ways. You get to do chores. You get to do this like horrible,
unbelievable. The best part of this episode, and this was my favorite scene in the entire season. Is that the entire time Daniel's kind of teaching Johnny Miyagi-Do, where it's like the best way to fight is to not be there. As Mr. Miyagi says, no be there. And then at the end, Johnny's trying to teach Daniel. Sometimes you have to go on the offensive. Sometimes you have to strike first. And so at the end of the episode, like they pick a fight with a hockey team, and basically Daniel realizes like he can't avoid this fight, so he's got to attack first. And so it's Daniel versus like 4 or 5 hockey guys. And Johnny's nowhere to be seen. And then like after the fight's over, Johnny comes walking up with like a soft pretzel, and Daniel's like where the hell were you, man? And Johnny's just like, no be there.
No be there.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was like one of the best scenes. The build up, the payoff. Oh, it was chef's kiss.
Speaking of build ups and payoffs, well, this is kind of the start of it. This makes Daniel's wife Amanda a better character when she confronts Tori, but then gets her fired, which causes a rift between the two. But we'll find out later that those two have more similarities than you might think.
Well, she's trying to be the mom Tori never had.
So. Yep. Well, we get there in a minute.
Well, she does have a mom, but.
Well, the mom's basically bedridden, and she's not being an actual mom. She's the birthing person.
Oh yeah. Tori's mom,
the birthing person. AJ, you were gonna say something, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add, like the scenes of Johnny and Danny, like going back and forth with this. It is my favorite, probably my favorite part of almost this whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the hardest 80s montage in that broken warehouse that I've ever seen, and I freaking am here for it, man.
Right
like
on.
Climbing a chain and just having that fist like at the end. Are you kidding? Come on.
They even freeze framed it.
They freeze framed it. They did everything, dude. The music, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
but
dude.
I'm with Kadish, though. I think my favorite part of this episode has got to be the hockey fight.
Yeah.
When they go and Johnny's sitting there at the bleachers, and they call a foul on one of the hockey players, and he's like, "Wait, what the hell, man? What's the problem?" And he's like, "Hey, this guy over here says he can kick your ass anytime." And LaRusso's like, "Dude."
Yeah.
It was so funny. Their relationship in this season, like, it's been great in the past 3 seasons, but this one, like, forcing them to work together, It's phenomenal. I love watching it. These two characters are meant to be together, no matter how much they repel each other.
Absolutely.
Opposites attract.
We should also point out that Anthony and what was the other kid's name?
Kenny.
Kenny.
Their whole rivalry starts over a girl because Anthony's jealous, and it's just like what happened with Elizabeth Shue in the first one. So there's so many parallels going on here. It's crazy.
Yeah. Anthony LaRusso has become the Johnny Lawrence of this season. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Episode 3. Justin, what is the name of this episode?
Then Learn Fly.
Ooh, Then Learn Fly. All right.
It sounds like a Miyagi quote. I don't quite get it, but I'd have to rewatch the movies.
It might be playing fast and loose with that.
First learn walk.
Yeah.
Then learn fly.
First learn stand, then learn fly. Oh, there we go.
There you go. I'm sure it has something to do with the kick.
Yeah.
Okay. Miguel and Daniel start to bond over their similar upbringings as Johnny tries to teach Sam LaRusso, it's Danny's daughter, how to break free of her father's passive teaching and take a leap on her own. Terry Silver confronts Crees about bringing up his past. Robbie sees an opportunity to help Kenny confront his fears by using Cobra Kai teachings, and Kenny begins his training under Crees. Johnny begins to get jealous of Miguel and Daniel's relationship. So a lot happens in this episode, but it's not very action-oriented. It's more just character development. I think they spend the most amount of time with Sam and Johnny on top of the roof, where Johnny's basically trying to get Sam to step out of her father's circle and kind of like take on her own persona, which is a big character development plot line for her in this season. And it's funny how like that whole scene where Johnny takes him up to the ceiling or to the roof of this building, and there's like, okay, now you guys are going to jump from here to there. And they're like, what if we fall? And he's like, that's what the mattresses are for. And he looked down, he's just like these pissed on, trashy mattresses, like off a 3-story building. It was Johnny is such a freaking wonderful character with his nonchalant, just like, you'll be fine.
Child endangerment. Yeah.
Yes.
Casual child endangerment.
It starts out with with Miguel, and I think it was the first season. When he teaches him how to swim by tying his arms and then throwing him into
Did you notice they referenced that where he was like, I once heard that he almost drowned a kid by
the kick
in the water.
God.
I'm not gonna repeat what he says. Drowning is for I don't know what are the parameters of swearing on here.
I have no idea. YouTube changes the rules all the time.
Okay, drowning is for
That's the
YouTube just
YouTube just muted Justin.
They're like, he's gonna say it. Let's freeze him out. Screw this guy.
AJ, your internet's working. Go ahead, buddy. What'd you think about this episode?
Dude, I do enjoy this episode. I love that you get a lot of Johnny just being his sadistical self and just flying by the seat of his pants, man.
Yeah.
It's great, and the whole season, the whole time, this episode is a good example of just juxtaposition Johnny versus Danny and like getting to see how they want to work with each other, students, things like that. I do really like it. I like there's some corniness. Okay. Yeah. There's some corniness that I love throughout this whole show. And I do like the redemption. I call it a redemption of Sam making that jump, learning to fly. Right. And kind of she's stepping out of her dad's shoes, and his circle. And even I don't know if maybe it's a little bit later. I can't remember if it's the same episode, but she even does the cap flick, like Johnny does later on. And Danny recognizes that. So, I enjoy this episode. It's good stuff.
Right on.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about this show is the symmetry that goes on with the different storylines, where you have Daniel, who's basically tutoring Johnny's surrogate son, Miguel, and then Johnny starts tutoring, Daniel's actual daughter, and they're both getting something that they were lacking from their previous mentor, Daniel and Johnny, and they're becoming more well-rounded because of it. And one of the interesting kind of thematic elements of this season is the whole breaking of the cycle. Like they say that numerous times, where it's like, we got to break the cycle. And part of that is not being locked into one way of thinking and kind of seeing things from both sides. And Miguel and I forget Daniel's daughter's name.
Sam.
Sam.
Mm-hmm.
They are kind of at the center of seeing both sides. Whereas Robbie, he's already kind of seen both sides, but he's chosen a side in this season, and he's perpetuating that cycle of kind of like, bullying and abuse and stuff like that. So it was a really interesting thematic element that we saw take shape in this season.
That's a big thing too, is everybody at this point, especially everybody seems very in their own lane, right? Like nobody's stepping outside. Nobody's trying to see the other side of things. Everyone's just like kind of in their own zone at this point. And again, it just kind of adds to that frustration, a little bit of that anxiety that's injected in, that you're just like, come on. You should be looking at that person.
And you see that with Daniel and Johnny in particular when Terry Silver comes into the mix, because Daniel is just unable to break that cycle where, like, the minute he sees Terry Silver, he can't believe that the guy's any different than how he was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so like, and even when it comes to Daniel and Johnny they eventually have another falling out because they just can't see eye to eye, and they just keep making the same mistakes over and over. And that's one of the reasons why, like, this is my least favorite season of the show so far, simply because I found it very frustrating, because they're talking about breaking these cycles, and yet they all keep falling back into these old habits. And I'm just like, like, I understand you got to do this to create the drama and the tension and stuff like that. But man, it just gets so frustrating to see them like do the same thing over and over again, where like they almost come to an understanding and then something comes and just screws it up.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
I was going to say, did you guys buy it from Terry when he came in and he's like, he almost wanting to make amends?
No, not for a second.
Okay,
but,
sorry, were you going to go there?
No, I was thinking in my head, I was thinking that you were going to be talking about another part of this episode, which I think is probably one of the corniest moments so far in this show.
Okay.
Is when Terry Silver shows up at the Cobra Kai dojo, and he confronts Crees about drudging up his past and dragging him back into this whole drama thing. And like Kater said, it's very much just a rinse and repeat of the same situation that we've seen already. And he's like, he has to like prove himself to Crees somehow. So he does some like half-hearted like kick, thrust, punch thing. And it's just because they're both older gentlemen. And don't get me wrong, they look good for their age, but they are both older gentlemen. I didn't buy it for a second. I was like, is he supposed to be impressing somebody with that? I thought they were going to throw down. I thought they were going to have a little freaking competition, but he just did this weird, like, little move, and he's like, haha, I'm back. And I'm like, nah, dude, you're not back yet. Justin's back. Oh,
hey, there's Justin.
He's out of YouTube jail.
I love how I was hesitant on saying drowning is for pussies, and then I got kicked out. I imagine you guys got a good kick out of that.
Oh yeah,
it happened at the perfect time.
Literally.
Wait, was it like drowning is for?
Yes.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
Dude, solid.
That is just so amazing. I don't know why this happens to me like this. Thank you, God, for this moment.
Yeah, that was a great YouTube moment. Real quick, I want to make a quick disagreement with Kadish. You mentioned something about Robbie kind of like going back into that whole like Cobra Kai bullying thing and falling into that same trap as Johnny did.
It wasn't the bullying. It was basically like he chose a side, and he did not break the cycle. He just continued with the cycle.
Okay.
In making that choice.
Okay. So
he's a better person. Like he's not like a jerk Cobra Kai guy. Like he's trying to teach the kids, the values, and he's teaching his friends like Miyagi-Do and stuff like that. But he's coming at it still from a place where like he's resentful, he's hurt, he wants to get back at not only Daniel but his dad. So like he's perpetuating this cycle of negativity that has been affecting all these characters since the 80s. So
okay, I see what you're saying now. Because I was gonna say, I'm like he's actually like, it seems to me that Robbie is one of the only students in Cobra Kai that has like a whole, sees the whole picture. Because he mentions a couple times, he's like, it's not everybody's style is right to them, but from my perspective, I'm taking it all and I'm going to use what I can to make a difference. And
Robbie has a very clearly defined arc in this season, and when he kind of fails with Dennis, is that his name?
Kenny.
Kenny. So when he fails with Kenny, Because he tries to take him under his wing and teach him how to be like, stand up for himself, be honorable and stuff like that. And when he sees like how angry Kenny becomes and how like obsessed with like just beating people, basically becoming a bully, he realizes that he not only failed Kenny, but he realizes what his dad has been going through with him. And so like by the end of the season, like we have this amazing kind of reconciliation between the two of them. I mean, I'm sure they're going to mess it up somehow in the next season, but it showed some character growth with Robbie, which was really nice.
Yeah. All right, Justin, what is the episode number 4 called?
Episode 4 is called Bicefully.
Oh, that's
Valley.
Okay, I remember that. That's a really weird.
It's a really weird word that I've never. Okay. Whatever. I'm sure it has some meaning. I don't know what it is, though.
4. It says, Daniel and Johnny continue training with both styles of fighting, and Miguel and Danny continue to bond. And Johnny begins to worry that he's losing Miguel. Terry Silver officially joins Crees in running Cobra Kai, and the two tussle over who's in charge of the dojo. Silver doesn't want to rehash the rivalries of the past, but Crees is looking to settle a score. Sam and Tori butt heads again when Sam discovers Tori's new embarrassing job as a children's entertainer at a local kids' playhouse. The members of Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do challenge each other to a tussle, but the Miyagi-Do students trick Robbie and the others, embarrassing them, causing Silver and Crees to approach Daniel and John. So this episode it really focuses a lot on the kids' drama, which I think is for me personally. Not that it's badly done, but for me, it's the weakest part of the show. I don't care about these kids that are in school and whether or not they're dating. And
you keep saying that about these kids.
I'm like, I care more about Danny and Johnny and Crees. Like, that's the story that I'm like sucked into. And I'm like, yeah, what's gonna happen with these guys? Because those are my heroes from the old Karate Kid movies. So that's what I want to. That's what I want to know.
Well, I want to know, dude, like, is it because it's obviously not because it's bad, but it's because you love Johnny and Daniel's, relationship and the older characters so much that you could give a shit about the newer characters, or I don't know. I don't know what is this that you don't like about these new characters.
It's not. Alex just doesn't like kids.
I don't like kids. That is number one. I don't like the Goonies. AJ, if you don't know that about me, know now, and you can leave if you wish. I know he's got a good.
Maybe he just tears down the poster immediately.
We've had many debates about the Goonies thing.
It's okay. You can be wrong. It's fine. It's all good.
Oh my god, I got it real quick. Shout out to the Dork Knight's mom. She's a wonderful person, and she watches all of our live streams.
Oh wow.
Hi mom.
Hi mom. She's our pod mom.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I get like a CW vibe from a lot of these kids-centric episodes where it's like high school drama stuff. I
agree.
It's fine. It's not badly done. It's just not my cup of tea. I know it's designed probably for the younger audience that I know watches this show, and that's totally okay. It's just not my cup of tea. My eyes kind of glaze over when I see, Sam and Tori getting a little spat about who's prettier or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's just get back to
the funny thing about that scene where they trick the Cobra Kais to meet them at the baseball field for a rumble and the sprinklers come on and stuff like that. like when they talk about it at the dojo, Daniel's so proud of them that they avoided a fight by doing that. But you see Johnny's eyes get wide and he's like, oh, you just made it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's an interesting difference in perspective.
Well, it's a difference in perspective, but also it kind of, I feel like Johnny was getting flashbacks of when Daniel just put a hose on him while he was rolling a joint in the bathroom.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Totally.
And he's like, that's why his reaction was the way it was. It was like, oh no, you made it worse. Because after that,
it's also because Johnny knows the Cobra Kai teachings, and he's like, they would have respected if they had lost or won the fight. Mm-hmm. But because you avoided the fight and embarrassed them, they're now going to double down and come at you harder.
Oh, yeah.
That's the worst thing that you could do with Cobra Kai students is embarrass them in front of everybody, because they will try to come back with a vengeance. And they're very vengeful. It's a very vengeful sort of mindset that with some of the characters who are in Cobra Kai, it's very hard to break through, especially when you've been taught by Crees and Terry Silver.
Yeah.
You
AJ,
expected-
you had,
oh, sorry,
did
go
you have
ahead.
did you have any favorite moments of this episode, or what really struck you about this one?
Well, I what we're talking about exactly, like I half expected the Johnny and Daniel to have like the flip reverse, opinions on things,
Mhm.
right? And I like how I think Daniel says at one point, well, they avoided what are they supposed to get in a switchblade fight at the drive-in? I'm like, is that an Outsiders reference? Wait a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outsiders references. Good.
Other than
Oh, I
that,
forgot Ralph Macchio was in that movie.
yeah, dude, yeah. I think I agree with you though, man, because when it gets into this like Degrassi style drama for the kids, I'm just not really here for it, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like,
AJ, you were saying exactly what I was thinking. Like, sometimes there are Degrassi moments. I feel like you've been saying what I've been thinking and have said before jokingly, but yeah, I totally understand it. But even though you don't like it, I enjoy it because I like these newer characters and I'm fine with it.
Something that I like them too.
But unfortunately, there wasn't enough. Well, I'll get to that later.
Sure.
Something that really took me out of this episode was just how much of a total bitch Sam was to Tori about her new job. Like,
that was not cool.
As much as you hate this chick, like, she is literally caring for her entire family while working at this incredibly embarrassing
Tori
job.
tried to kill her. And she also invaded her home and gave her PTSD. And stole her boyfriend.
I don't know. I feel like you're splitting hairs here, man.
I don't know what you're talking
she
about.
Had claws on her fist that she tried to stab her with.
That's a good
certain point.
She did try to prison shank her in school. Like, that's very true.
Yeah, but Sam embarrassed her first, so.
Sam kissed her boyfriend. Yeah,
I know. Like,
Dude,
okay, now I understand the Degrassi references.
Leave it to Cage to pull the rug out from under me.
It's my job, and you make it so easy.
Oh, shush.
Oh, man.
All right. Any other thoughts on episode 4? Cage, you haven't really talked about this episode yet. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I mean,
perfect.
Not much to say.
Okay, cool.
Well, the only thing that I kind of I don't think we talked about was at first I thought Tori had become a stripper at first, the way that everything was set up, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's what they were alluding to. It was
and then it was just like she dresses up as a mermaid for like kids at a birth. I was like, "Oh!"
But we also got to see
God.
We also got to see Sam's mom continue to try to reach out to Tori.
Yeah,
and like throughout the season, like she keeps making these overtures to her to try to kind of pull her back from the dark space that she's in. And I think this was the episode where she's like, the first step to getting help is allowing people to help you, or something like that. Because like Tori, every time someone tries to help her out, she just pushes them away, and she's like, I can do it myself. So
I love the chat right now. Have you ever met a teenage girl? They are mean. Tori is a total bitch. I love it, man. You guys are hilarious. Oh man, Tori's
she does have pretty hard.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
We will get there.
Yeah, we will get there. All right, so let's see. The last thing I want to mention real quick is that this episode leaves off with Crees and Silver entering Miyagi-Do to confront Johnny and Daniel about their students' behavior, and that's like the big cliffhanger for this episode.
It was a great cliffhanger.
Yeah, it is a great cliffhanger, which leads us into episode.
Which leads us to a hugely disappointing beginning of the next episode.
Well, I think it's funny that I think the last time that Terry Silver was at Miyagi-Do, that was a very that was interesting.
Did Silver actually ever go to Miyagi-Do? I thought.
Yeah, Terry Silver did. He did, and I think someone like a Mike Barnes. It was a setup. Mike Barnes was saying
Daniel was training there, and Terry Silver's kind of shows up and seduces him to the dark side.
Yeah,
because Mr. Miyagi didn't want to train him for the tournament.
It's been a minute since I've seen Karate Kid 3. What is episode 5's title there, Justin?
Episode 5's title is Match Point.
Match Point. All right, this episode, Silver and Daniel meet again. Silver challenges Miyagi-Do for the right to teach. The loser of the All-Valley Karate competition must give up teaching karate. Johnny, tired of the passive nature of Miyagi-Do, challenges Daniel to one last fight for the right to lead as sensei. The epic rematch between Johnny and Daniel ends in a draw as they both land a knockout blow, but the fight isn't over. Reacting to Hawk revealing that Robbie and the other Cobra Kai have cut off his iconic mohawk, they are unable to find a middle ground and separate. So this was a freaking great episode. One of my favorite moments in this episode is how Johnny has a Twitter and he has one follower and it's Miguel. And when Danny and Johnny challenge each other to the fight, he tweets it out like 100 times, just the same thing. And he's like, I think it was Eli. What was Eli's best friend? The nerd.
Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Yeah.
Who does he think he's talking to? You're the only person who follows him.
Yeah.
So freaking hilarious. But the build up to this was great. I was super excited. This episode got me pumped to see Johnny and Daniel face off again on the mat. I was in, man. I was excited. I was as excited as the students were.
And it was the perfect ending to that fight as well.
Yeah. What would you expect otherwise? I mean,
no.
Did you expect it to go one way or the other, I guess? Or just a draw? You knew a draw was coming.
It would have had to have been a draw because they have other enemies to fight. It's not about them fighting each other. This season is about defeating Terry Silver and Crees.
For sure.
I will say the start of this episode was hugely disappointing because I felt like Terry Silver showing up should have been a bigger deal than it was made out to be in this episode. I was kind of disappointed with the resolution to that great cliffhanger because I was like, oh shit, stuff's gonna go down.
He kind of walks away.
Did you expect like a big karate fight at the start?
No, but I expected more of a kind of like confrontation, I guess. And it was over way too quick. Daniel just kind of got pissy and walked off, and it was just. I didn't care for it. Like there should have been some where Johnny's like, who the hell is this guy? And the kids are all like, who's that guy? Like, what's going on here? I would have liked to have seen it be more of a big deal than it ended up being.
Okay. Justin, what did you think about this episode?
My favorite part was Hawk getting his mohawk shaved off, and it reminded me a lot of when Game of Thrones used to be good with the emasculation of Hawk, except this is more metaphorical, not physical. And he loses his self-confidence and because the Hawk, like his name is Hawk for a reason. It was given to him by Johnny. And what could be a better way to have a leg up in the tournament than to shave Hawk's Hawk? It's a metaphor for like how big it is, we can make many comparisons with that, but it means a lot to him. So like having that, just having him almost devolve in a way, and then having Dimitri, I don't know if it's in this episode or I think it is in this episode where he has Dimitri has a pep talk with him, just being like, dude, you're the same person. You influenced me.
No, that was the next episode.
That's the next one. Okay, well, I'll talk about that later. But I was in love with that moment, and I think it was just perfectly played out. But I want to hear what you guys thought of that.
All right, AJ, what are your thoughts on this episode and the epic rematch 30 years in the making?
I just kept waiting for the epic rematch, and like I gotta say, every time Johnny and Daniel are having a drink together, though, I just love it so much.
Oh,
I love it so much, man. Like Johnny is always drinking a banquet, which I love, and then Daniel's always got something semi-pretentious at least, but it's
dry
fun.
martini, Shirley Temple for the lady.
A couple episodes ago when he was teaching him how to paint and he's drinking, he's like, refreshing beer. And Johnny takes it and he looks at it, he's like, freaking fruit in your beer figures.
Blue Moon, like it's just like
I forgot about that.
Talking crap about Blue Moon was freaking hilarious. But yeah, that's a good point though. I did like that. And is this the episode where they're at the bar together and Johnny tells the bartender to F off?
Yeah, he does.
That was priceless. That was like a Wolverine moment. I loved it.
Yeah, like he throws the money down and the bartender's like, this is $2.
Just put it on my tab. Bring me another one.
Danny's like, give me another one.
Daniel knew that was gonna happen, right? Like, so he just knew that was gonna happen. But
totally,
like,
great moment.
And I still love, like, all the kids show up to the fight, and you have well, I'm just saying his name, okay? It's Penis Breath is like commentating on his stuff.
He's like, I'm just trying to get into it, man.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just saying what I'm feeling.
He goes full ringside announcer JR style.
Yeah, dude, it's great.
He goes full Joe Rogan. There's another moment, a fantastically funny line too. And Johnny's like, show me the other angle, because he's upset that he like had a draw. and the kid looks at him like, this is the only angle.
There's just like one cell phone taking the video.
You understand? We're happy we got this.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
great.
Right.
It was a good episode. I obviously it was only going to end one way, and I was just kind of waiting for how they were going to do it. But I do think they did it a very good way. I think they did it very well. So yeah.
Kate, does she have any thoughts on episode 5?
The ending was great. The beginning wasn't.
Okay. All right. Episode 6. Justin, take it away. What is the title for this one?
This is my favorite one. Kicks Get Chicks.
Oh, yes. Okay, this is when Johnny tries to campaign to get a female character. Or a female
a female character.
Yeah.
Right. I love this one. Yeah.
Is this the one where they start off with like the All Valley Karate Committee?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right. So the synopsis is the All Valley Championship has a new set of challenges, including a skills section and a separate boys and girls divisions. The now separated Eagle Fang Miyagi-Do teams must each pivot their training to win against Cobra Kai. Johnny is faced with the challenge of adding a female member to his dojo. After a confrontation with her freeloading aunt, Tori is forced to go to Amanda LaRusso for help with her family's situation. Dimitri pleads with his old friend Eli, Hawk, to come back to Miyagi-Do. So obviously, my opinion, the best moment of this episode is Johnny at the high school trying to recruit chicks for his team,
and he just comes off as a predator.
Comes off as a
so creepy.
He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for chicks under 18 only. All right, you guys are badasses."
Oh no!
Remember when he's talking to the other dad about like what he's gonna do?
Yeah.
Trying to recruit this girl.
He's like, I haven't approached one yet. I'm working on my style. Which one looks good to you? And the guy's like, well, bro,
dude, you can't. Like, you gotta stop.
And my other favorite part is when Miguel is trying to teach Johnny how to approach like the modern female. Like, okay, don't forget what I told you. Yeah, I know. Be awake. No. Be woke.
Be awake.
And
then he spews out something that's just so perfect. I don't remember exactly what he says, but I was like, oh my God, this isn't going in this direction, is it?
He uses every modern cliche thing in the absolute wrong way. And the chick's like, well, how do you feel about gender fluid? And he's like, fluids are very important.
Yes.
You got to stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
I wish I could remember. I didn't write it down. I can't remember what he says to Miguel. He's like, do you even know what you just said? And he like slaps him on the shoulder. I can't remember what he says.
Miguel says, you did really good, even though you didn't understand a single word you said.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's
there was something specific that he said that just made me laugh so hard. I can't remember it though. But I really thought that was was
what's even better is when Johnny can't find a girl to join Eagle Fang, and so his idea is to mimic the movie Ladybugs, where he has one of his male students put on a wig and pretend to be a girl, so that they can.
It's not a guy who doesn't any respect.
And Miguel's like, dude, you want me to dress up like a girl? And he's like, no, not you. Penis breath. I think he can make it happen.
Oh man, I love those moments so much.
Kate, you mentioned something about the All Valley, like the board members or something. You want to talk about that for a second? Go ahead.
Yeah, so this episode opens up with the board of directors for the All Valley Karate Tournament, and they're trying to figure out like what the rules for this year's tournament's going to be. And it's your typical kind of like small town local politicking where like you got like the egos in the room and they're all like kind of pushing their own agendas and all this like bickering and infighting and pettiness over something that just doesn't mean anything. And what's great is like these characters have been in like every single season leading up to this point, and we've gotten like bits of them, but like they were always kind of like the board that Daniel or Johnny was talking to or whatever. And this is really the first time that we get to see them kind of like interacting with one another and how much they hate one another. And not just how petty they are. And it's your typical kind of local government type thing where it's just so stupid and silly and petty. But they eventually come to agree upon the new rules, which kind of throw all the other dojos for a loop because they're like, oh, it's not just about fighting. It's also about all this other stuff now.
Definitely
also,
the vibe of like a Parks and Rec like subcommittee.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah.
Yeah, they were arguing for a time about like, look, the blue mats made people show up more.
People show up. Look, it's dads and their sons, obviously, but there's a growing demographic of women. It's just I love.
Why can't we go back to the red mats? Those were really cool in the 80s.
Oh,
it's good stuff.
It was so ridiculous. But the one thing I think we forgot to mention was Aisha comes back like for a second, and I missed her, and I really liked that they gave her a scene again. I thought they were.
Sam drives all the way to like Santa Barbara or something like that to go and visit her old friend.
Right.
Yeah, it was good to see Aisha kind of come back, and this season was actually really great at kind of pulling in these characters that, like Stingray, right? Like characters that were missing from previous seasons. We're gonna get all of a sudden they come back. Yeah, it's great.
Well, that's another thing that Cobra Kai has done well in general. There's a whole like season 2. You didn't have Kyler. You didn't have a couple of other the Dimitri's girlfriend or whatever. You had a couple other characters who weren't in season 2, but they can always come back, which is kind of nice. Yeah. That's what this series does very well. Is you can have characters come in and out like they come out in and out of people's lives. So.
But they not only do that, they actually pull old characters from the movies and bring them like the same actors, you know, like every single character in the show is the original actor, you know, coming back.
And the fact that they refuse to recast, I believe for the most, I don't know if anybody was recast. I don't think so, is very respectable. And I think it should be commended.
Shout out to the Rookie Critic. What's up, buddy? Just so you know, we're on episode 7 already. So if you haven't watched that episode, bud, we're going to spoil the crap out of it for you. But we appreciate you stopping by. Okay, so Justin, you mentioned real quick the relationship between Dimitri and Eli. That's this episode where they sit down and they go over like Eli's trying to convince Hawk to come back, or I'm sorry, Dimitri's trying to convince Hawk to come back, and he's like, "Hey, man." No matter whether they call each other like binary brothers or something, they have some
binary brothers.
So lame,
so lame and cheesy, but they love each other. And they're like, and one of the lines that I thought was like, yes, as cheesy as that scene was, that one line that Dimitri says is like, "We're binary bros, man. Whether you're number 1 or number 0." I'm with you. I'm like, dude, that hit, man.
This is one of those Degrassi moments that I absolutely was all in on. I got some Revenge of the Nerds vibes out of their little video they made, but I was just like, I was all in on that moment between Eli and Dimitri, man. I am 100%. In on that bromance for sure.
Yep, 100%.
Everyone always has that kind of relationship in their life.
Yeah.
Well, it was also interesting to see Hawk's kind of like crisis of confidence, you know, where he's just depressed. He doesn't know who he is anymore without his hair and all this other stuff. And it was nice to see Dimitri kind of like give him a purpose once more.
Yeah. Anybody know who this guy is? Drunk 3PO? I don't know. He's got some kind of a channel or something. He wants to be on the show. I don't know. Can somebody get some street cred on that guy? I'm not really sure who he is.
Never heard of him before, but I'm sure he loves my profile pic.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
He was on that old YouTube show once. You remember that? You remember that, Alex?
What, is it like the Senate or something? I mean, that was a long time ago, bro. I don't know.
The council something? I don't know. I think I remember it, Droid. Yeah.
What's up, Jay? We're happy to have you in the chat, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's see. Any final thoughts on episode 6? Anybody? I'll be ready to go.
I thought it was 7.
No, 7 is next.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Take it away, bud.
Episode 7. Minefields.
Minefields. All right, thank you. Miguel finds out Johnny and his mom are totally hooking up. Daniel decides it's time to teach Anthony some self-defense after being told he's being bullied by a member of Cobra Kai. But Anthony isn't willing to put in the work and doesn't care about Mr. Miyagi. Silver and Crees play a passive-aggressive game of who's the better leader. Johnny starts taking it easy on Miguel because he's banging his mom, but after a heart-to-heart, he decides to teach Miguel and Sam the deadly tornado spin kick. And Kenny takes his training to school and kicks the crap out of Anthony LaRusso and his buddies, leading to the LaRussos being told Anthony is actually the bully, not the bullied. This was a really freaking cool episode.
There's a lot in this one.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode. But I had a blast with it. Again, it's really heavy on the character development and relationships. My favorite part of this episode is how Danny finally is like paying some close attention to his son for like the first time in 4 seasons. And he's like, all right, I'm going to teach you about Miyagi-Do. And Anthony just doesn't care, dude. And he's like, all right, now you're going to wash these cars. He's trying to teach him the wax on, wax off thing. And he freaking pays some like random Uber driver Yelp review guy. And he's like, hey, come over here. And Danny pulls up and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe he actually washed all the cars. And he comes out, he's like, no, I just used your credit card and paid this guy to do it. I don't want to wash the
He's got some guy from
That's what I was going to say. Like, not only did he just hire somebody, he used his money, like, which he's always done. It just shows just how even though he's gotten tall and he's not a fat guy anymore. He's now skinny and everything. Like, no, he's still the same lazy prick that he always has been. And you know what? Some of those things you just won't go away too easily. Maybe something will happen in future seasons, but you know what? It's the same asshole.
He Gen Z is every situation he's in, man. Yeah. He's just like, I've got an app for that. Like, I'm good at it. Like,
yeah, he'll never be good at karate. I don't think so, but he'll always have that, that outside thinking of how can I get around me having to do something I don't want to do, which is a kind of smarts that is unique, but at the same time, like, it's not respectable at all, and I have no sympathy for what happens later.
Like, as irritating as I find Anthony because he's got like this silver spoon up his butt, but this freaking opens up a can of worms of Danny LaRusso's failure as a parent, which
totally
comes up in the next couple episodes, which I think is a great character development for Danny. It gives him something to, like, he's not the perfect character. Like a couple seasons ago, like, Danny was the perfect guy. He's got his life together. He's got his family together. He's wealthy. He's this, he's that. There's a glaring flaw in him, and they really put a magnifying glass on it in this season. Kadish, what did you think about this episode 7, bud?
It was good. It's kind of leading up to episode 8, and then 9 and 10 are kind of like a 2-parter. Mm-hmm. But I love the the whole thing with Miguel and Johnny, and like him realizing that Johnny's dating his mom, but it kind of cements that whole like father-son relationship that they've had going on for like the last couple of seasons. Yeah. But also adding Sam into the mix was pretty nice. Because like she is kind of getting more and more into Johnny's style of thinking. One of the things I really appreciate, especially when they were on the rooftop earlier in the season, is that they brought up the fact that Sam and her friends were the ones who kicked this whole thing into gear, and that Johnny was still harboring some issues over that, and they eventually kind of come to see eye to eye, and Sam or Johnny kind of takes her under his wing once he realizes that she is open to his teachings, and Sam realizes, like, yeah, I need more aggression in my life. My dad's style isn't working for me. Yeah. And it's just an interesting dynamic that they got going there. With Anthony, the whole thing about him hiring someone to do the chores, which completely negates the lesson that Daniel was trying to teach him. It's so Anthony, yeah, I could see like millennial, young millennials doing that.
That's Gen Z, buddy,
or Gen Z, whatever. It was pitch perfect to the character. It worked.
AJ, you got any thoughts about episode 7?
Episode 7, Just a little bit again. I'm so tired of Anthony at this point. It's extremely frustrating. I'm actually tired of Kenny now too, though. So like they're just on the same arc, just on opposite ends of it, right? I'm like, you guys like are just pissing me off.
But how great was that scene where Kenny took out all of Anthony's crew in the library?
No.
He like shuts out the lights. It's like a scene from Die Hard, you know?
Yeah, he goes for like horror movie on him. Like he hides and he kicks them through the bookcases and stuff. Like he takes them to the. And the other thing that I don't think it's hold on, let me. No, that is okay. So later, at the very, very end of this episode, it's revealed to the LaRussos that Anthony is actually the aggressor, and they go back and they watch the security footage, and Kenny purposely makes it look like he was being chased by them so that any blame would fall on them and not him. It was like a masterminded, like he thought about this.
Yeah, Kenny.
I totally forgot about that. You're right.
Kenny even turned to him at the end there, and he was like, "Gotcha."
Yeah, that's right.
This is Pork Tornadoes. How about the ringleader of Anthony's friends?
That kid was awful.
That kid is terrible. The curly-headed little freaking fuzzball. Ugh.
He is the most punchable face, I think, in this season for sure. He's worth every punch that he gets. Like it's great. It's phenomenal.
Seriously, but all of Anthony's friends are really terrible.
Oh
but
yeah,
that guy is in particular just.
Did Stingray?
I've known guys like that, so I totally relate to that.
Stingray's in episode 8. Do you want to get to that? Because you've been asking about him for like a couple minutes.
I love Stingray.
FYI, Pork Tornadoes. That's Mike, and I'm so glad that he's here. If there is one other person that would just want to be in on this conversation, I know he is chomping at the bit. He loves Cobra Kai, Karate Kid, everything, and I love you, Mike, and I wish you were here too, man.
Mike, another person from the Confused Breakfast podcast. Welcome, sir. Thanks for being in the chat, man. We appreciate it. And we will get you on the show. All you got, AJ has all our contact information. We'll get you in here, bud.
Heck yeah.
All right, episode 8. Justin, take it away. What is the title for this one?
Party time.
Party time. All right. Enter Stingray. Stingray is back and wants to get back to his Cobra Kai glory, but is told by Crees he is a complete loser and to shove off. The kids prepare for school prom. Tori and Robbie joke about going, but Terry Silver isn't messing around and sends them in style. Johnny confronts Silver about dealing with Robbie, and they face off in the old Cobra Kai dojo. Silver takes matters too far and kicks the crap out of Johnny, and Crees has to spare him. Daniel and Amanda face questioning from their child psychology cousin about their parenting of Anthony. Stingray brings the prom to his pad, and a rumble starts between Miguel, Robbie, Sam, and Tori. Stingray returns to Cobra Kai, and Silver beats the ever-living crap out of him as an initiation into the dojo. All right, Cadis, you've been chomping at this one for a bit. Go ahead and talk about Stingray.
I love how Stingray's still got like the little braided thing. So Paul Walter Hauser, like he kind of after his premiere in season 2, he got cast in this big movie called Richard Jewell, which was
that was the
Clint Eastwood film,
yeah.
And he was the main lead in that. He's gone on to do other movies like I think his latest one was Queen Pens. And he's a very talented kind of like, comedic actor. But for whatever reason, he wasn't in season 3. And they kind of played it off as like, oh, because, he was like an adult and he participated in the rumble at the school. Like he went on the run and they got like arrested or something like that. So they kind of like wrote him off. And when we catch back up with him in this episode, he's been living at his sister's house under kind of like probation or something like that. He's just being like the same lazy old Stingray that we all know and love. Yeah. And he has this confrontation with his neighbor where his neighbor's just like being a complete jerk to him. And Stingray is just kind of like justifying his juvenile behavior. But I miss this character so much. Like, I just love this character.
That one part where
that would be me if I was in the Cobra Kai universe.
Freaking frisbees off my roof, man. And he's like, those aren't frisbees, bro. It's so funny, dude. Stingray is such a hilarious character, but also in real life, that dude is a total creeper. Oh. Like if you like in the reality of our world, like if you were to know somebody like that, you'd be like, bro, that like his neighbor is dead on. Like he is spot on. Like you are a complete loser. Crees is the same thing. He's like,
well the thing about Stingray is that he is a man child, right? Yeah. Like he hasn't emotionally progressed past high school. And so he's lonely, like he's an outlier. He's not someone who is accepted. And so he's looking for that acceptance, and he can find it somewhat through like hanging out with high school kids because he can get them alcohol, he can give them a place to party, stuff like that. But Cobra Kai was the closest he ever came to like having like real friends and real family. And so by the time his probation's up and he's able to go back, he's really excited to re-enter the fray. But Johnny Lawrence isn't running Cobra Kai anymore. It's now Crees, and Crees doesn't have any time for his BS. And it's so like the scene where they kick him out of the dojo. It's so like heartbreaking because you can see the pain on his face, and it was really sad. And then like at the end, he comes back, and Terry Silver starts beating the shit out of him, and you're just like you're just like, this show went dark.
Yeah.
Well, Terry Silver beating the shit out of Stingray is kind of something that I wanted in season 2 because I hated that character so much. I hated Stingray in season 2. I really, he was too goofy. Like even for Cobra Kai, I was just like, no, I wasn't buying it. Kind of like how Alex does not like kids in this in this series. I do not like Stingray. Like that's the one character I've had an issue with. Just because maybe because I can't see somebody actually doing that. Like it's just too much for me, I guess. And just he's too over the top and ridiculous, to the point where, like, I don't know. Do you have you ever met anybody who's like quite like that? Like,
I mean, it's definitely like a caricature of those types of people. But
Matt Vader's pretty close. So yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah,
but yeah, if there's any downside to like season 2, which is one of my favorite seasons, it would be Stingray. But I did like what happens later on with Stingray. Although I'll get into it, but
this is the this scene where Terry Silver beats the crap out of Stingray is like he's gone full freaking Joker at this point. Like he's back to his old self.
He's back to Cocaine Terry.
He probably did a line of coke right before he came out.
No. It's like he felt betrayed by Crees because the other big scene in this episode was Silver set up a trap for Johnny, and they had this whole big thing about weaknesses. Everyone has a weakness, and Silver's knew that Johnny was Creas's weakness because Crees, for all the history that him and Johnny have, he genuinely cares about Johnny. He looks at Johnny as like his own son. Yeah. And so like when Silvers tries to beat Johnny down at the old Cobra Kai dojo, he's doing it because he wants to kind of free Crees from his reliance on Johnny. But Crees chooses Johnny over him. And in that moment, he realizes, oh, all the stuff that Crees was talking about is BS. And I have no allegiance to this guy anymore. It was a big moment in the season.
Well, it's a big moment for Crees and finally finding some sort of vulnerability because, remember in the other Karate Kid films and the early seasons of Cobra Kai, you see Crees as the big baddie, but then he's sort of like, I guess if you have some sort of Star Wars comparison, there's like Crees is like maybe Vader, like in terms of ranking, and then Terry Silver is the Emperor. Like he is willing to beat this guy to death if it means getting what he wants and getting the allegiance that he wants. Well, he is psychotic.
The interesting thing is that Crees, he really does care about people, but in his own unique way. Like he cares about Terry. He saved his life in Nam. But then Terry Silver's, and then Tori, he cares about Tori. He keeps looking out for her. He goes and confronts Daniel LaRusso's wife about getting her fired. And he does care about Johnny and about like all of his students he cares about. The problem was in the past, he didn't quite know how to deal with the pressures of teaching them to be winners in addition to being like the father figure. And in this season, one of the great parts of his arc as a character is that he actually learns, he breaks that cycle, which was the whole theme of the season, was breaking the cycles. But in the end, breaking that cycle in a way empowers his greatest enemy to betray him. And it was just a very interesting way of going about doing things with him.
Yeah.
it shows a deeper level though that Crees like he has this like human side. He is like a normal person. Like he has this this empathy, but he's still a sociopath because he's not the one inflicting it. He's still doing like he cares about Johnny, he cares about Crees or about Silver, he cares about he wants Robbie, Johnny, and like all this Tori, but the problem is he's still a sociopath because it's still about what he wants in the end. He wants to win. It's about him pushing forward, and Silver kind of breaks this down on him and gets the best on him. And at the same time, I still feel it for Crees though, which I don't like. I don't love that I'm like feeling it for Crees. You know what I mean?
Well, also,
I don't think anybody does. But
how crazy is it that Silvers was able to take down Johnny?
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Dude, Cocaine Terry can probably move mountains if he wants to. Okay,
mountains and mountains of cocaine.
The only guy to ever kick the ass of Crees and Terry Silvers was Mr. Miyagi.
That's right.
And oh my God, it's so sad that Pat Morita is no longer with us. But you know what? It's. I mean,
I think they honor him.
I want to go past that, but the one thing that I think that. The revelation of Crees having this vulnerability, it just shows that the writers of Cobra Kai, John, Josh, and Hayden, and they are so good at creating these pivotal, vulnerable moments with all of these character-driven psychological moments where they have vulnerabilities, whether it leads to a demise or it leads to a realization. They understand all of these characters, old and new, and this is why I love this series so much. And I'm pretty sure this is why we all love it, and everyone in the chat does, and everyone who's ever watched Cobra Kai loves it because of the care and understanding of characters. Because when you think about any series, what do you think about the most? You think about the characters, and if you care about them, I think that's one of the most important aspects of writing in general, not just plot, but just like do you care about what happens? And I think these guys nailed it as always.
Speaking of nailing it, are we going to talk about Robbie and Tori at prom?
Very sexy.
I don't want
very, very,
especially
very
that Terry Silver dress that he got her.
Dude.
No.
Terry just like, hey, here's a car. My God.
Stop.
Yeah, wear this dress that shows off all your goodies. Yeah.
Stop. She's a high school student. Stop.
She's 18.
I know the actress is, but still, it's weird.
For me, I'm sorry. I didn't.
I want to say real quick that I love your profile picture. That is freaking dope. It looks amazing. Welcome to the chat. Thank you. All right, episode 9. Go ahead, Justin. What is the title for this episode?
The Fall.
The Fall. All right, here we go. The 51st All Valley Karate Championship begins. The dojos face off in skills, but nobody really cares. Carrie Underwood shows up to sing one of the worst fighting montage songs ever. Daniel talks to Robbie about putting passion in front of principle right before Robbie is faced with fighting Kenny. Crees tells Robbie to buck up. Eli gets his mojo back after a big fat wet kiss. Sam decides to use a more aggressive Eagle Fang approach to win more fights, and Daniel is very disappointed in this. Eli and Miguel face off, and Miguel hurts his back, attempting Johnny's tornado kick of death. All right.
I think we need a sound effect on this one.
Do we? Yeah, can we
kick off the tournament?
Copyright strike it. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh man!
Heck yeah!
That was great. The Carrie Underwood thing, like I guess it's cool that they got her on the show, but
that was the lowest point of this series.
The cringiest montage.
That's like Ed Sheeran showing up on the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Did she show up at Game of Thrones?
No, Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran
did, and
whatever his name is. That was like
okay.
I was like, okay, Carrie Underwood's gonna do like.
Why was she in this? Why was she in this? I have no idea. I seriously don't.
one of the board members knew her, I guess. I don't know, but that song was awful, and it did not fit the karate montage that followed it.
I just imagine like all the producers of the show sitting around. It's like, well, we got to get some sort of musical guest, some sort of celebrity in here, extra celebrity. I don't know what can we get? What's on this list right here? She's affordable. Let's do it. I guess it worked out.
At least it wasn't Taylor Swift.
Thank God. Thank God for that. But anyway,
it's a love story. No, it's not.
I like how
that
I
would
was
have been horrible.
If she had shown up and she had sung "You're the Best Around,"
yeah,
that would have been okay.
Mind blown.
That would have been okay.
But they didn't do that. They just sang some other song, not even the national anthem.
Although they did have like Dee Snider show up in the previous season. So
that made sense, though. That made sense, though, in context, and that also was a motivation. There was a pivotal plot point to Miguel's recovery, which I think I can say it now. Can I, Alex?
What?
About Miguel, what happens at the end when he pulls a muscle?
Well, that happens in this.
Did I ruin it?
Oh no, because I made fun of this before we started recording. I was talking to Justin about this, and I'm like, the ending of this episode is this big cliffhanger, and we think Miguel's like injured his back because he had like back surgery last season or maybe 2 seasons ago. So he's like, he could be seriously injured at this point. And in episode 10, the very opening of episode 10, the doctor's like, "Oh, you just pulled a muscle. You'll be fine in about 30 minutes."
Well, he was doing that tornado kick that Johnny had taught him, and as he was like spinning around, he pulled a muscle in his back and just like fell to the ground. Right?
No, I was so disappointed that he just like, I thought he tore a vertebrae, and I'm like, yes, we're gonna get. We're gonna get more of my favorite character arc of season 3. Wheelchair Miguel. I'm sorry, I had to do it, Alex. But look, I say Wheelchair Miguel on my stream and other streams just as a joke whenever Cobra Kai comes out, because I do think it was the most underutilized arc in season 3. That's why it's my least favorite season. He just recovered so quickly, and that's why I just make the joke. Wheelchair Miguel. Like, it's just, and I was so happy at the end of this episode because I'm like, yes, we're getting more Wheelchair Miguel, because Wheelchair Miguel means consequences. Consequences for the things that happen. And unfortunately, it seems like the writers chickened out. And it really, that if there's only one thing that I would change, is that he's not in a wheelchair longer. And that's not saying that I don't love Miguel or anything, or that I want him to be in a wheelchair, even though I do, but I don't. I just
I get what you're saying, because like that was a great point about the consequences. Like, this show, they do some serious things, and people could very well be seriously injured, but then, like, the next couple episodes, things are healed, people are back to normal, everything's fine. There's just like a little bit of a grudge, or somebody has a chip on their shoulder. I do completely agree with you that the consequences of Miguel's injury were swept under the rug, and they just like moved on way too quickly. So completely agree with you.
Yeah, and by the way, AJ, that's a Degrassi moment that they didn't, that they definitely did. Except Drake never got out of that wheelchair, did he?
Well, after Miguel hurt his back at the end of this episode, I was like, just watch. Daniel's going to come in and do like the whole Miyagi thing.
Missed opportunity.
No.
They already did it, and he already washed it off. Medic.
Yeah, he was like, medic.
All right.
You know what? I'm pretty sure Miyagi just did the same thing, but they just cut it.
Just cut that.
The best part of this episode to me was Hawk getting his mojo back.
Oh, yes.
Like he comes out and he's like, I know who I am. And Daniel's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the guy who's going to win this entire tournament. And like, from that moment on, his fate was sealed.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in the next episode. But I just love seeing Hawk kind of like come back and just like starts kicking ass. Oh, loved it.
We'll get to it. All right.
His is one of my favorites for sure.
Okay. Let's talk about the season finale, episode 10. Justin, what's the title?
The Rise.
The rise.
The fall and then the rise.
All right. Miguel's dramatic back injury was just a pulled muscle, and he's got 30 minutes to return to the fight. Anthony tries to apologize to Kenny, but Kenny, all hopped up on Cobra Kai, kicks his ass instead of accepting his apology. Robbie stops Kenny and sees just how dangerous Cobra Kai's aggression can be. Johnny has a one-on-one with Miguel, but Miguel is conflicted and forfeits the fight, leaving Eli to take on Robbie for the boys' championship. In an epic Zack Snyder slow-mo shirtless battle, Eli takes the win for Miyagi-Do. Daniel asks Johnny to help him, and they put aside their differences again to help Sam. I mistyped Sam. Sam and Tori face off in a not-so-shirtless battle. Silver tells Tori to sweep the leg and triggers Crees. Tori wins. Cobra Kai is the All-Valley Grand Champion. After the championship, Tori sees Silver paying off the ref for the win. Silver frames Crees for Stingray's beatdown, and Miguel jumps on a boat to Mexico to find his long-lost dad. Daniel calls on an old enemy to help fight Silver's new reign. This was a huge episode. I have to say, I think they spent their budget on Eli and Robbie's fight, and they forgot to give the money to the girls.
That thing was the most epic fight I've seen on TV.
It was a damn good fight between Robbie and Eli. It was so freaking cool and fun. The music was epic. I was rooting for both characters because at this point I'm like, I mean, either one can win and I'll be fine.
But dude, the best is when like Robbie takes his gi off, he's all shirtless, and then Hawk's like, oh yeah, he takes it. You get the Hawk, and then you get that sound effect.
Freaking Hawk sound, and he still has the Hawk with the purple freaking mohawk, and he's like, I got this.
It was so epic.
By the way, his mom knows about his tattoo now.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it was also funny because as soon as Robbie takes the gi off, Hawk looks at the ref, and the ref just like,
I don't even know at this point. I don't care.
I don't know who this.
That was the most climactic fight of the entire series. Like that was great.
I totally agree. It was a great fight. Like I said, the Zack Snyder slow-mo epic. I had a ton of fun watching this fight, which was kind of disappointing when they finally got to Tori and Sam's fight, which I felt like could have been done a lot more like dramatically, but they were just like, oh, the girls fight later and somebody wins.
Well, the big thing about that fight was that Daniel and Johnny finally team up once more to help Sam out, and that was like a great emotional climax there too. I was like, it should have happened earlier, like 5 episodes ago.
If they had decided to do that, this whole plot line, like the whole like Cobra Kai winning the All Valley, would not have been a thing. Like if those two had just stuck with it, it would have been just fine, and they would have destroyed Cobra Kai in the points, because now we're going by points.
I think my favorite moment in this episode, though, was when Silver's telling Tori to basically take out the other eye on Sam, and Crees has flashbacks to how he treated Johnny, and he was like, you know what, you do you do what you feel is right, and that was like a big moment for that character where he put aside, you know, winning is everything, and put honor before winning, basically. And he put his trust in his students.
Yeah, and we have a mirror of that with Danny and Sam, where Sam walks up and she's like, I can't use defensive Miyagi-Do against her. I have to use my own style. And Danny finally is like, go with your own style and do your thing. And she goes in there and she has this crazy, like, freaking Mortal Kombat stance when she walks into the ring. It was dope, man. It was great.
And Tori, she's like, she's not using Miyagi-Do. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And Sam is actually the one who effectively uses the tornado kick that Johnny taught her, which was great. And Tori was like, what the fuck was that? Like, she just kicked me in the face.
That aggression came out from Eagle Fang, you know what I mean?
It was a really cool set.
And there was that moment where Sam scored a point, but the ref was like out of bounds, you know, and everyone was like, oh, she hit her before he went out of bounds.
You know what's great about that is during that fight, it never even crossed my mind that ref was throwing the fight on purpose, but it's revealed later.
Agreed.
Where Tori walks in and she sees Silver like passing some cash off to the guy or something.
And now that win is meaningless to her.
Yeah, and now you go back and you watch the episode and you can see every time the ref does a bad call. And it was like, oh, man, that was a great setup and payoff.
That's what's great
it adds to rewatchability what you're talking about, because you watch it, the one way, not knowing. I'm so glad they didn't reveal it in the first watch of getting introduced to this, and then being able to watch it the second time, you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is, why didn't I see this almost? So
also that negates the agreement that they had that they can't be teaching stuff. So when Tori finally reveals that, then Daniel's whole thing about refusing to give up is actually justified. So
yeah, and I hope that gets brought up in season 5. And maybe there's other. I'm not going to even make any predictions, because at this point, I used to be able to make predictions pretty easily, but at this point, I'm like, I don't even know where to go from here.
I've got some predictions.
Yeah,
I have a few, but at this point, I'm just I'm along for the ride, because everything I've said was,
Let's do final thoughts on the season finale, and then we'll get into predictions for season 5. AJ, what's your final thoughts for this whole season and this season finale in general?
Overall season, I really enjoyed it. I really, really appreciated Terry Silver coming back into the picture. It's finally what I wanted. I had a theory that maybe Terry Silver was going to be revealed as Miguel's dad or something, but I'm glad that wasn't the thing now seeing this. But I did really enjoy it. I think it was a good setup. I think we got some great fight scenes out of this. We got our Degrassi moments. If you're into that, Justin, it's fine, bro.
No, just when it's done right. Degrassi is a no.
At least we got. I'm sorry you didn't get more wheelchair Miguel.
Oh yes, rest in peace, wheelchair Miguel.
Rest in peace, bro. But no, I really did enjoy the season. I was hooked every single time a new season is released. They have this magical way in this show, unlike most other shows that I have watched, that they are able to entice me for the next episode for a binge. They are really great at this, and that is just a testament to the writers and producers, and of course the characters and the way that they're doing this. So I was really all in on this. It's probably not my favorite season, but I would maybe has potential for my second.
Nice. Okay, Justin, real quick, final thoughts, and then we'll go to Kadish.
This was an absolutely fantastic season. I'm excited for what happened next, to what's going to happen next. And that's what Cobra Kai has done best. It's always made me excited for what's to come. And I think we forgot to mention a very important thing that happens in the finale. Crees gets arrested for attempted murder.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because Stingray was paid off by Terry Silver after he beats the ever-living shit out of him.
Right.
I can't believe we forgot to mention that.
I didn't. It's in my synopsis. I think I just.
I was going to talk about it.
Over it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like so. I'm like, okay. So Stingray, this one character that I could give two shits about, is now used as a plot
leverage
device.
Yeah.
as leverage. Well, for me, it's a plot device, but you know what? I'll say leverage because I like the creators of this show. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic ending, and then Terry Silver realizing that Crees was his weakness, like Johnny Lawrence is Creese's weakness. This is just such brilliant writing, and I love how Amanda. With this comment, Tori and Amanda LaRusso relationship was surprising. Her background was interesting. It gives Amanda a character, which she did not have one in the last few seasons.
That's fair.
We've seen her progress over time. In the first season, she was just Daniel LaRusso's wife, and that's it. But then she's had a troubled background, and I absolutely love that and how she relates to her. It was so well done.
One of my favorite moments for Amanda was when she talks to Danny and she's like, "Are there any other Cobra Kai psychopaths going to pop out of your history?" And he's like, "No, well, maybe."
Mike Barnes, that's the only one.
Yeah, they got Mike Barnes left. So
also Dennis, aka Snake.
Yeah.
Snake, who had I love that audition tape that he had. If you guys have ever seen that, I wish that is the way they approached it for Karate Kid 3, but that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, that could easily happen.
Well, Terry Silver says that he's got some people he's going to call, And so that's setting the stage for Mike Barnes to come back and help him teach Cobra Kai.
Before we get into the season 5 stuff, Kadish, final thoughts on this season?
Yeah, not my favorite season. It was good. It's kind of like pizza. You can never have bad Cobra Kai.
Come on.
Yeah. So like, I enjoyed this season immensely. I love the themes. I love the character arcs. I love the fight choreography. Everything about the season was just really well done. I like how it ended things where we get to see Johnny going off after Miguel, who's seeking out his father, his real father. I liked seeing the resolution between Robbie and Johnny. I liked seeing Chosen show back up, and he's teaming back up with Daniel. I love the cold-bloodedness of Terry Silver taking Crees out like that and taking over Cobra Kai, basically doing to Crees what Crees did to Johnny a few seasons ago.
Yep.
And they just set everything up so perfectly for the next season. And this season's climax was a satisfying climax for this season. Everything about the show is great. I love it.
Right on. My complaints would be, I think this show has kind of pigeonholed itself. They've used this whole like karate tournament challenge thing a few too many times, and they need to move away from that. If season 5 comes around and they do another freaking, well, I'll challenge you to the All Valley Championship this year, and whoever wins has to leave All Valley or whatever. Like, stop. You gotta stop doing that. Like, take this shit to freaking Japan and go fight at like an old school, like go with Chosen and challenge them there and do this. Find another location. I kind of feel like they're doing like a Mortal Kombat thing where you're just playing the same character and you're fighting the same people, but just different backgrounds. So I hope that they can move in a new direction with this show. And my personal gripes, I kind of glaze over with the teenage drama stuff, but that's just me. It's not that it's badly written. I just don't care. The old school characters that they're bringing back, I think this freaking show does a phenomenal job at taking ridiculous characters and ridiculous moments from the old movies and turning them into fantastic characters that I love watching. Terry Silver is a prime example. That dude was ridiculous in Karate Kid 3.
He just did a lot of cocaine.
That's it. They one freaking line of dialogue.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine Terry, baby.
One line of dialogue fixed the entire freaking the entire movie. So right on to the writers.
Did any of you catch the line of dialogue when there's a scroll that's undone by one of the Miyagi-Do students, and then they're like, "What's this?"
It was Anthony.
Yeah, it was Anthony, and he's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Something that I hope we never have to use." Was that from season 3, or is that something? Okay, so that is from
that was the technique that Chosen shared with Daniel. That was the one where he hits the arm and it goes numb and stuff like that, right. Which Daniel did to Johnny. Johnny just was like, "What the fuck, man?" Yeah. He just shakes it off.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to confirm it because I watched it just twice and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's from the 3rd season, but I'm like, was it?
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
We're it's almost like 1 o'clock in the morning for the poor East Coast people. Let's finish this off with, what do you think is going to happen in season 5? AJ, go ahead, go first.
Season 5. I have to take it to Mike Barnes. I don't mean to keep on the play of like we're getting a how are they going to tie in Miguel's dad? That's what I want to know. Is he going to be a throw? I really hope he's not a throwaway. Like, to be honest, I really hope he's not a throwaway. He goes and meet and he's maybe a deadbeat or something like that. And then he comes back. He's like, "Oh, I learned that I'm okay now here under Johnny's tutelage, blah, blah, blah." Mm-hmm. I don't want that. It's Mike Barnes is potentially Miguel's dad down, I want them, like you were saying earlier, Alec, I want them to take it to the streets, man. I'm tired of the All Valley. We got to get away from that. We got to get away from what color the mats are.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they do. And yeah, I think we're going to have, this should stack up to be some of the better fights. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Stingray gets played into this. Maybe he gets like a nice redemption or something like that. Maybe they shave off the tampon tug or something that's on his chin. They just get him out.
Tampon tug?
And that's just, sorry.
Damn.
Like, it's like Hawk and his mohawk. They shave it. Maybe just that's it. Then.
Okay.
You can't have
so-
Stingray without the stinger, though. You don't have that.
He's already got one.
Fluffy Panda, you do not want to see the cartel in season 5. You really don't.
Dude.
That's gonna take Cobra Kai in a direction that you cannot take back.
Dude, can you imagine if like LaRusso and Lawrence all go down to Mexico and fight the cartel with Robbie?
Cartel?
No, I've
taking Mom's
unfortunately come
minivan.
across one too many videos of that, and boy, you do not want to be on the other end of that situation.
All right.
No.
Cobra Kai meets Ozarks.
Yeah, right.
More like Narcos.
Narcos, yeah.
No.
Narcos, Cobra Kai.
I mean,
Narcos
maybe
is a
yes,
Netflix
maybe
show.
yes, because it's Cobra Kai, but at the same time, no.
They technically already are rated R because I think Hawk drops a couple F-bombs.
So does
like,
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny does.
Robbie
too.
does. Robbie does. It's just like, oh, what's this? Some like
Yeah.
random dojo. He's like, no, it's my fucking dad, and he rides on a skateboard.
Anyway, Kadish, what do you think is going to happen in season 5? Real quick.
All right. I don't think Mike Barnes is going to be Miguel's father. I think Mike Barnes will come back to help Terry Silver teach Cobra Kai. I'm holding out hope that Dennis, Terry Silver's son, is actually Miguel's father, who's down in Mexico partying or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a completely unrelated character. I think Chosen is going to take over teaching Miyagi-Do because Daniel has to appear to have lost the bet and be honoring the terms of the deal. Crees is going to be in prison, and we're going to see him hook up with Kenny's little brother or older brother and start teaching the prison version of Cobra Kai.
Oh my god.
Prison karate.
Yeah, prison karate. We're gonna see Johnny go down to Mexico to try to get back with Miguel. We're gonna see Hawk try to defend his title. Robbie, I don't know what's gonna happen with him, but I doubt he's gonna remain with Cobra Kai. He's probably gonna try to help Dennis come back to the light side. So there's a lot of things that they set up for the next season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're gonna handle that.
Right on. All right, guys, that is officially the longest late night Salty Nerd podcast at 1 hour and 40 minutes. Thank you guys all for being in the chat. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, if you guys aren't already, go to saltynerdclub.com, sign up for the club membership for us. You guys get exclusive access to a ton of content, and we work really hard at it, and we really appreciate the support. Those of you who are already members, thank you guys so much. Really look forward to chatting with you in our Discord app. Justin Proper, go ahead, buddy, and say goodbye to the people. Where can they find you on the socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the Justin Proper, as it is right there. And I have a show called This Week in Bullshit, which airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm also considering a couple other things for the channel. But one thing that you could check out, if you're a Scream fan, I had a conversation with 2 good friends of mine, and we talked about Scream 5 in detail and sort of the nuances of it and the misunderstandings of the show and the messages of it. So if you're a Scream fan, if you're a horror fan, you can go check that out. Also, I will be at Horror Hound in March with World Class Bullshitters. So check that out for the future. And some actors from Scream are going to be in that, are going to be at the convention. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And thank you so much, Alex, for having me on. It's been a real pleasure.
Of course, man. No problem.
And sorry for the technical difficulties at the best time possible.
Hey,
No,
YouTube has it out for you, man.
That was
I
amazing.
think so.
I'm gonna clip that and I'm gonna put it on my Instagram. Katie, buddy, where can they find you and where can they find your books?
Well, you can find my blue checkmark account on Twitter at
You have a blue
Matthew
check mark?
Kadish. I'm a very important person, Justin. I don't know if you
Wait, no
realize
way. You have a blue check mark? No way.
I do have a blue check mark. I'm surprised
you
you
get
haven't
that?
heard of this by now. Well, I'm a very important person. I have my house smells of rich mahogany. I have numerous leather-bound books. So, but you can also go to kadishbooks.com if you want to check out my Amazon page, check out my books. See, Alex.
You're not kidding. How
Alex,
did you get that?
Some people appreciate the blue check. Okay.
I joke, I'm gonna get Kadish a hat, and it's gonna have a spring with a little blue check mark above it. It's just gonna bobble around.
Hey, I am who I say I am. Twitter proves it.
It won't even let me say who I say I am.
I know, right?
What the hell?
And also check out saltynerd.com for all of our episodes, both video and audio, and blog posts.
All right. The guest of honor tonight, Confused Breakfast Podcast. AJ, take it away, buddy. Where can they find you guys?
Hey, about anywhere on social media at Confused Breakfast, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're seeking stuff out. YouTube, we are fresh out on YouTube and trying to make our way on there. So please go hit up a new fun episode on YouTube for us for Confused Breakfast. Me personally, and by the way, confusedbreakfast.com, we've got links to literally everything that we do at confusedbreakfast.com. So I'm anywhere on social media. It's just AJ Vens, AJAYVENS for me. I have 2 other shows that I would really love to talk about for just 2 seconds. I'm Super Stoked Podcast. A great fun show. It was the start of my podcast career with my great friend Sean Pryor, who is also a host on Confused Breakfast. I'm Super Stoked Podcast. And then also there's a new fun show we started, Scotch and Splenda. It's an Office podcast. So if you guys are big fans of The Office at all, we just talk about really strictly fan theories, what ifs, side stories, and just take it like way down the rabbit hole for The Office. Scotch and Splenda. Scotch at Scotch Splenda. No like ampersand, no and, just at Scotch Splenda anywhere. But other than that, and Confused Breakfast. And thank you guys again so much for having me on. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how jealous the other guys are going to be that I was able to time this out and hang out with you guys. You guys are literally, yeah.
Hey, is there a story behind the name Confused Breakfast?
There is. Long story short, we were trying to come up with a name for the longest time. My favorite movie that I'll always say is The Breakfast Club. Sean's favorite movie is Dazed and Confused. There was a time we were trying to figure out how to fit in Mike's favorite movie into the show name. And yeah, so, well, he said, well, how about we just say The Goonies? And so we're just The Confused Breakfast. But that's how we did it, man. And that's so, awesome, but man. It's just our favorite movies really just smashed together, man. And that's what we do. And we love old movies. Confused Breakfast is all about 80s, 90s, early 2000s. If you love those movies in those golden years, check it out. It's a lot of fun for us. We work really hard at it. And we're inspired by dudes like you who are just working and grinding away 24/7. So right on. And last but not least, Barbarian Space Viking.
What's up? Hey, Matt.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, you missed it.
What are you watching?
Oh my gosh! All right, everybody.
I'm playing. I'll go back to Dragon Champions.
So there's the shout out.
I'm gonna go. Yeah. Hey guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know it was a super late night. This went over 45 minutes longer than we normally do, but we really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Tune in next week. I don't know what we're going to cover yet, but if you go to saltynerddiscord.com, you guys can get updates on what we're covering on each of our live streams and, of course, our main SMP Weekly. We will be live on Twitter Spaces tomorrow sometime in the afternoon, probably around 11 o'clock to noon.
And what movies are we talking about?
We're talking about Aliens, one of the greatest sequels ever made. Predators, not one of the greatest sequels ever made. And Aliens versus Predators. It's going to be AVP.
One of the worst movies ever made.
Aliens versus Predator? Oh,
wrong. It's a fantastic movie.
It's a Paul W.S. Anderson movie.
It's horrible. It's PG-13. You know, from R-rated franchises. It's
preach.
Salty_nerd. Go to Twitter and join us live on Twitter Spaces tomorrow. We will be there talking about these.
AJ agrees with me.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.